what is your mesh story?
Well, my mesh story is that when I was going through the menopause, I went to a menopause clinic, and to just like help me, I was looking for HRT or whatever, and through all the tests, they discovered that I had a problem with a bladder problem, that I, needed this operation, this mesh operation, that the gynecologist, obstetrician, whatever you call him, was said I needed it, and he basically, I didn't really feel that I needed it, but he told me it would change my life, that I wouldn't ever leak again, and it was a very simple operation, only took 20 minutes and all this kind of stuff. It did change my life. It changed my life so much that I would go to describe it as almost destroying my life. I woke up from the operation, and I can only say that I was in pain. It's 23 years ago, and I have never been out of pain since. I don't think for maybe I get a couple of hours where I have no pain. The first thing I do in the morning is take medication for the pain, the vaginal pain. I have vaginal pain and pain down the inside of my legs, constant. Even as I'm talking to you, it's actually getting worse because I'm talking about it. I've kind of trained my mind to try and forget that I have this pain. As I said to one doctor once, if you were walking around with a pain in your penis 24/7, or any man was, they would do something about it. But anyway, I after the operation, and I felt as if there was a poker up through me, and I went back and back and back until he basically told me it was all in my head, and he did do loads of tests, he did everything, eventually agreed to cut it to, in the middle. At the time, that's 23 years ago, I knew no different. I got a certain amount of relief when it was cut, but I leaked then. Everything kind of fell down. So I was still complaining of pain, and eventually he did a bigger operation where he opened my stomach, and he told me that he got the rest of the mesh out. For me, even though he said he took the mesh out, he said he took about 90% out, the rest of it had eroded, had joined into my other organs. He never told me what, and I didn't understand what was going on really. I thought I would, at one stage the doctor even contemplated and suggested that I have my vagina sewed up, and that would help, right? My husband was with me, and my husband said, just do whatever it takes to get her. She can't go on. I'm going to get emotional now because it brings it all back, how bad it was, But anyway, I actually agreed to it myself, and I went in, and then under examination he said, no, that wouldn't do any good. So that was off the cards. So I just had to get on with my life. I had I had a job, I had a lot of staff, I was a manager, and I just decided to try and cope with the pain. So I started on medication, very strong medication, and it did help, which my GP prescribed, and I was on it for years, and it did help. Tramadol, can I name that? Is that okay? And I didn't realise how addictive and how serious tramadol. I was on it for years, must have been on it for 10 or 15 years. And anyway, it actually got me through. It got me to work every morning, and it got me living an okay life, you know. Like, I've never had penetrative sex since I've had the mesh in, never been able to, and because I bleed and my husband would bleed and all that. Anyway, is 16 years after I had the mesh, a piece of it eroded into my vagina. Now, I do feel that I passed a piece as well, because I bled an awful lot, and then I could feel it. I went everywhere. I went to London, I went to 2 different doctors in England. Neither of them would touch me. I went to a well-known doctor in London. She said, I went for a scan, the translabial scan. She had a look at it and she said, no, that it was the piece, it was only 2 centimetres that was left at this stage, but that, and the piece in my vagina that had come out, but that she said that it would cause too much trouble to remove it. She wouldn't touch it. Anyway, so I couldn't walk very far, and you know, I was uncomfortable all the time, and the least little thing and I'd bleed. So I went to another GP, female GP, who sent me then to a private hospital, and that doctor there, I'm assuming you can't say names. So she took me in and did you know, an examination under anaesthetic, and she said, yes, there's a piece sticking out of your vagina. There was another urologist with her, and she said he'll come in to talk to you, right? So he came in and he said, I was in overnight, and he said, yes, it was there, but he didn't know like what could be done about it. And he said, you can't do anything about it, basically, you know. And I got very upset, and I said like that, you know, my husband and I, this was in 2016, yeah. I said, we cycle because I can't walk, because I've had knee replacements, I can't walk very far. And I said, I cycle, and I can't cycle at the moment because as soon as I sit on the bike, it sticks into me and it bleeds. So his suggestion was that I get a professional saddle with the opening in the middle and sit on that so that I wouldn't be hitting the piece. Anyway, after that I found this, I got a referral, I managed to get a referral to this doctor in Cork. So I went down there. Fortunately, I have private health. So she examined me and said, yes, there's a piece of the mesh has eroded into your vagina. I knew that because I could feel it. I was checking it myself and I could feel it. It was like a needle sticking out of me, you know. So she took me in down there and told me afterwards she removed it. And I was, she basically said to me, I've removed so much scar tissue, because I had 5 operations in relation to mesh after I had it implanted, right? You know, he was doing this, he was doing that, he was doing the other, you know. So she said, you have an awful lot of scar tissue. And she put up her fist, she said, I've taken scar tissue out the size of my fist, she said. And my advice is to you, she said, I had showed her the scan that I got done in England, the translabial scan, and she said, I wouldn't touch where that is. She said, the piece that's eroded, I've removed. So I was happy enough with that. At least I was more comfortable, you know. I mean, I was 66 at the time, so like, you know, it was really hard, you know. So anyway, that was okay. She put me on an awful lot of medication to help with the pain, because I still had the pain, you know, after she only basically took the piece of thing out. And so since then, I would have pain every day. I don't take tramadol. When George Michael died and I found out that he died from tramadol, I realised how serious it was, so I stopped. I didn't realise how bad it was, but there's nothing that has ever taken the pain away as good as that. Jesus, I sound like a promotion for tramadol, but I didn't know it was such a serious opioid and that. So, so that's my story. Every day now, I take medication to stop, to help me just get on. I believe I also discovered, I was also diagnosed with fibromyalgia. Yeah, that's a big problem for me. Any little shock to the system and it flares up and I get very bad attacks of it. Like for me now, like to get an injection, I don't know about anybody else, but that's where I find a needle, like the flu vaccine, the COVID vaccine, that triggers my fibromyalgia like I don't know what, you know. And like that, I've been in and out, I've gotten pain, you know, injections for that, and I've been on, can't remember the name of the tablet, but pain management through the mesh centre gave me stuff, and it did help for 3 months for the fibre. No, I can't get another prescription for that because it's only a consultant can give it. I don't know whether I'm even too keen on going back on it, but anyway, that's, I think I probably developed fibromyalgia after the mesh, because fibromyalgia is caused by trauma to the body, and I go back again to tramadol. I think that kept that at bay, and then I was in so much pain. Even now talking to you, like my shoulders, both my shoulders, both my knees, both my ankles are paining me, you know. So that's a struggle, the fibromyalgia. Some say it's not connected with the mesh. Some, you know, there's no real proof of that. I believe it's connected with the mesh. So that's basically it. That's where I'm at. You know, I wish my life wasn't like this. I wish I didn't have the pain, because I can get quite irritable with the pain. Nobody wants to be walking around with vaginal pain all the time. And just feeling that like for 23 years you're suffering because you didn't get the proper consent, you didn't get the proper information. At the time, just going back, when I was complaining constantly, I mean on a daily basis, I lived very close to the hospital where I had it put in, and I used to go almost on a daily basis. I used to walk over and just cry to the doctor. I think he thought he'd never see the back of me, you know. And he basically told me that I was the only one that ever complained, and that he had gotten onto the manufacturers, and worldwide, I always remember him saying to me that there was a couple of women that had said they were discomfort and then they loosened it or did something, and that was the only complaint they had. When I joined Mesh Survivors Ireland, I met another lady who had the same doctor 6 months before me, and she was told the identical thing, that there was nobody else had complained, and we would have been attending all at the same time, and that there was nobody else that had complained, that she was the only one. and I was the only one. So,
well, in general, mesh erodes inside, does its own thing, goes its own way, wraps itself around nerves, makes tracks inside your body. I believe they can fill up with different bacteria meeting that causes abscesses that are simply horrendous. It has the effect on your intimacy, I believe, that some people with mesh, people have split up over it, husbands have left and come back, and just general pain, debilitating pain. One side, both sides, pain that can travel down your legs, affect your hips, and generally just give you no quality of life whatsoever. Some people have travelled abroad to have it removed at a cost to themselves, but I believe anyone who's had it done has had brilliant results. Yes, the pains are still there because of scar tissuing and nerve damage, but well worth the money. But not everybody's in the same boat. You can be left with prolapses from it, and then it's more surgery to have this bladder put back in again with no mesh. They use your own tissue. Best part of the time it works. Sometimes I believe it doesn't, and then it's on to a more serious surgery. Bulking agencies, Botox, it's horrendous. It's horrendous. And just because it's out, it doesn't stop. Doesn't stop the pains. Doesn't stop. You're just a little bit better off than what you were beforehand.
It has an awful lot of effect on women. They have no social life. They don't meet with their friends or anything. Some women have to use a walking aid. Some women have to depend on their partner to do things for them. And some women can't even get out of bed in the day with the pain. It has an awful lot of effect on women. In a way, women, they're just in pain. They're in a lot of pain. Some days they get up and they don't know what their day is going to be like with pain. Some days they can't even get out of bed. They're in so much pain, and they have to rely on their partner to do cooking and cleaning for them. And they have no intimacy with their partners either. Some men are good, they stay with their partners, but some men just walk away from them. They're not able to keep up with it all.
So mesh has an absolutely horrific effect on people's lives, and it's different for every single mesh patient. Pain for people is just completely different. So the pain that people experience, pain going down their legs, you could be walking, and the pain, you cannot control going to the toilet. It just dribble non-stop, and it just goes, and it's very embarrassing for people as well, because if you don't understand what mesh is, they just think, oh, she's just wetting herself for no reason. But unfortunately you can't control it because of the mesh. And then the control of mesh is as well, it's basically, it affects your whole lifestyle. Basically, it can take away if you're in a relationship, it can take away your sexual relationship with your partner. Your intimacy is gone, and people are lucky that they have understanding partners, because people that have had mesh has had their partners that have left them, and they will need to get a lot of counselling to help them get overturn this. Actually, castrate is an horrendous thing that people have mesh, and when the mesh doesn't work out right, it's awful, the effects on people. Constant pain. That's what it is. It's just constant pain, and unless you're a mesh patient, you won't understand it, because the pain goes in your hips, it goes in your back, it goes down your groin, and constant pain. Mesh sufferers, if you have mesh, the way to get it sorted is get your mesh removed, and don't get the middle of the mesh removed out if it's eroding, because the mesh can erode, and that's where the intimacy comes into it, because you'd be in an agony. And get it all taken out as one piece, and then you have to get this sling put in after you get the mesh out. So it's a long road for patients that have mesh to get it fixed, and psychologically it's an even longer road, because basically when you think about it, there's people as young as 28, 30 years of age that have had mesh, and it has stole their young lives away. So their intimacy, relationships, it's very hard on people psychologically. People have to be, life has to go on, but yet at the same time, if you don't get the correct advice and counselling to help you go on, life will struggle for you. It'll be very, very difficult for you.
See me, hear me, learn from me. In the deep shadow a tale unfolds of mesh survivors brave and bold. See me, hear me, their voices cry. Learn from the pain that you can't deny. Within the body I hold a key to choose its fate, to set it free. I know its whispers, its silent plea to heal the wounds that none can see. A burning poker, a searing thread, up through my core, a pain widespread. Legs pulled back in anguish, and I sway, walking through the darkest fray. Bending, sitting, standing tall, every move I feel the fall. Infection seep in, bladder screams, a mesh-made nightmare, a shattered dream. Don't dismiss me, the survivor's plea. It is not just in my mind, you see. My body speaks, it cries for aid. Remove this mesh, the price I've paid. Pillar to post, both night and day, sorry. Pillar to post. I'm passed along in waiting rooms where hope is gone. The pain persists both night and day in Ireland's land where healing strays. Across the sea in foreign land, I find relief, my debt expands. Money talks and it paves its way for mesh removal a brighter day. Plastic is gone, my body sighs, yet new challenges now arise. I weep and fear what lies ahead, another surgery filled with dread, incontinence, a daily fight. Life planned around the live's harsh light, a bag of pads, a constant frown, the shame of self, it cannot mend. Yet my heart, a spark remains, a strength that drums through all my veins. I speak my truth, a story raw, a survivor's voice, a warrior's awe. In certain spaces where silence falls, I break the chain, my spirit calls. Let me talk, let me share, the pain I bear, the scars I wear. See me, hear me, my tale is true. Learn from the strength that pulled me through. Oh, the pain, it carves my song, but from its depths my spirit's strong. In unity we find our might, mesh survivors we stand and fight. Against the odds we raise our voices, in pain we find our shared rejoices. From darkness blooms a tale of might, a mesh survivors, I am the light. See me, hear me, learn from me, in my story, strength runs free.